What if one artist did not just rise within an entertainment company, but quietly carried the company with him? What if the success of an entire agency, its reputation, its confidence, and even its future direction could be traced back to one single name? Today, we are not talking about rumors. We are not talking about short-lived popularity. We are talking about a rare phenomenon in the Chinese entertainment industry. And that name is Wang Yibo. In most entertainment systems, success follows a familiar structure. Agencies build frameworks, allocate resources, and guide artists step by step. The individual is shaped by the system. Yet the story surrounding Wang Yibo quietly disrupts this logic. Rather than being carried forward by an organization, his career reveals the opposite movement. As his professional identity grew clearer and more defined, the structure around him appeared to stabilize and expand in response. This was not a sudden reversal, nor a dramatic rebellion against the industry. It was a gradual shift formed through consistency, credibility, and long-term commitment. What makes this unusual is not scale, but direction. Influence moved upward instead of downward. The individual did not demand control, yet the system naturally adjusted around his value. Such cases are rare because they cannot be manufactured. They occur only when trust, discipline, and public confidence align over time. This is why his trajectory is often described as an exception rather than a template. It challenges the assumption that power must always originate from institutions, reminding us that sometimes genuine authority is earned quietly and recognized without being claimed. In an industry often driven by visibility and attention, applause can be misleading. Loud moments fade quickly, and temporary excitement rarely leaves lasting impact. What defines enduring success is not volume, but consequence. Wang Yibo's career demonstrates a form of achievement measured in outcomes rather than reactions. His professional choices consistently translated into stability for collaborators, for partners, and for the wider ecosystem connected to his work. This type of success does not rely on controversy or spectacle. Instead, it is built through reliability and expectation. When audiences trust that quality will be delivered, and when partners trust that commitments will be honored, influence becomes structural rather than emotional. It moves beyond personal popularity and enters the realm of confidence. This is where applause becomes secondary. Such success is often invisible to casual observers. It appears in long-term cooperation, repeated collaboration, and quiet continuity. These are signs of respect that cannot be demanded or purchased. In this sense, Wang Yibo's influence reflects maturity rather than momentum. It shows that true achievement in entertainment is not defined by how loudly one is celebrated, but by how steadily one is relied upon, even when the spotlight shifts elsewhere. There is a subtle but important distinction between being visible and being valued. Many celebrities are recognized, far fewer are trusted. The transition from one to the other marks a significant shift in professional identity. Over time, Wang Yibo's collaborations evolved beyond short-term appearances into sustained partnerships. This progression signals more than commercial appeal. It suggests reliability across cultural, professional, and ethical expectations. In global markets, longevity is rarely accidental. It is the result of consistency and alignment. Long-term partners seek more than reach. They look for stability, adaptability, and reputation, qualities that protect their own credibility. When an individual becomes associated with these traits, the relationship changes. The artist is no longer viewed as a temporary amplifier, but as part of a broader narrative. This transformation reflects a deeper form of recognition. It acknowledges that influence can extend beyond screens and stages into shared values. Such recognition is earned slowly, often without announcement. By moving from momentary visibility to sustained trust, Wang Yibo's career illustrates how influence matures. It becomes less about exposure and more about presence. A presence that remains meaningful even when trends evolve. Power is often misunderstood as control, yet some of the most enduring forms of influence operate without command, instruction, or insistence. They exist quietly, shaping environments rather than directing them. Wang Yibo's presence is frequently described as understated. He does not dominate conversations or impose authority, and yet his involvement subtly alters dynamics. Expectations adjust, atmospheres shift, attention gathers naturally. This is soft power in its purest form. It relies not on enforcement, but on credibility. People respond because they trust the individual's standards, not because they are required to comply. Such influence cannot be demanded, and it cannot be replicated through status alone. Soft power is especially significant in creative industries, where autonomy and respect matter deeply. When influence feels voluntary rather than imposed, collaboration becomes smoother and more sincere. What makes this form of strength compelling is its restraint. It demonstrates confidence without performance. It reassures without explanation. In a world increasingly defined by visibility and assertion, this quiet authority stands out. Ultimately, soft power reflects inner stability. It suggests that influence does not need to announce itself to be effective. It simply needs to be consistent. Global audiences connect not only through achievement, but through relatability. Behind professional success, people look for emotional clarity, signs of authenticity that transcend cultural boundaries. One of the most resonant aspects of Wang Yibo's public image is balance. He moves between formality and informality without friction. Serious professional moments coexist naturally with relaxed, unguarded interactions. This contrast creates a sense of sincerity rather than performance. For viewers across different countries and age groups, this balance feels familiar. It mirrors everyday life, where responsibility and individuality coexist. Such representation does not rely on perfection. It relies on coherence. This human dimension allows audiences to engage without distance. Admiration does not become alienation. Instead, it encourages empathy. People see not only achievement, but effort, not only confidence, but composure. In a global media environment often saturated with exaggeration, this grounded presence feels refreshing. It suggests that success does not require abandoning one's temperament. Instead, it rewards those who remain aligned with themselves. This emotional accessibility may explain why his journey resonates across cultures, not because it is extraordinary, but because it remains recognizably human. If you enjoy thoughtful stories that go beyond headlines and explore the deeper side of the entertainment world, please subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching, for your time, and for being part of this community. Stay curious, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.